It is kind of funny that just a few years ago, we were making fun of the Knicks trading Kristaps Porzingis to the Mavericks, and here we are today talking about potential Kristaps Dallas Mavericks trades. It's funny, isn't it? Nah, but what is going on, everybody? How is everybody doing today? We are continuing our 10 realistic trade series here. We have done a version of this with Damian Lillard, Kemba Walker. Now we're taking over to the big man side of things and coming up with 10 possible realistic trades that the Mavericks could consider with KP this offseason. So there was the report once the Mavericks got eliminated by the Clippers that KP felt like he was more of like a sidekick and a second cast player on the Mavericks, and he thought he was going to be a co-star with Luka. But when they traded for KP, nobody thought that Luka was going to be a top 7 player in the NBA in his 3rd season. It's truly remarkable what Luka Doncic has done, and he's on his way to being an NBA legend. And I'm sorry, KP, there's not a lot of co-stars in the NBA. Even though, like, if we looked at the Splash Bros with Curry and Clay, no matter how good Clay was, he was never really a 1B to Curry's 1A. He was always that second option after Curry. You look at AD in LA, you look at Kyrie in Brooklyn, Paul George in LA. These are all second tier players to their number ones. The only team that I could think that is good right now that has co-stars is probably the Suns with Devin Booker and Chris Paul. But yeah, here we go. We're going to come up with 10 possible Kristaps Porzingis trades that the Mavericks could consider in the offseason. We have a couple new teams here that weren't in the Kemba and Lillard trade videos. So if you guys do enjoy these, feel free to drop a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it if you did. And let me know down below any other trades that I maybe missed out on, or if you agree or disagree with anything I came up with. So let's get into these 10 offers. So the first trade is somebody that's been compared to KP a lot since he's been drafted, and that is the Dallas Mavericks trading Kristaps Porzingis to the Chicago Bulls for Lauri Markkanen and Coby White. Now, this would technically be a sign and trade, or they would get his qualifying offer coming over. So Markkanen is definitely not as good as a player as Kristaps Porzingis, especially on the defensive side of the ball, but he's a good spot-up shooter that you would like to surround Luka Doncic with. Now, they also get Coby White in this trade, who is still under team control for 2 more years. We still don't know if he's going to be a really good player in the NBA or not. He's been a little bit inconsistent in his first 2 seasons, but he could be a nice ball handler and kind of secondary ball handler behind Luka Doncic, because he won't be the number 1 there when it comes to handling the ball. We would see what the Lauri Markkanen contract will look like. They could save a lot of money with this trade. Who knows, Markkanen may get like $20 million on the open market, so they'd save a little money with that. And Coby White, like I mentioned, is under contract for 2 more seasons. Now, they would clear up some cap space, get some young players around Luka, and then also set them up for having a 2021 max slot, or excuse me, 2022 max slot next season, even after the Luka Doncic max extension. And for Chicago, this seems like a no-brainer. They might let Lauri Markkanen walk anyway. Coby White doesn't look like he's really their long-term answer at the point guard position. So right now, they could maybe find that point guard, a veteran one, in free agency. They'd have Zach LaVine, Patrick Williams, KP, and Nikola Vucevic. They want to make it to the playoffs next year. Why not go out, acquire KP, and do exactly that? Trade numero dos that we have here is the Charlotte Hornets, a team that was not mentioned in the Lillard or Kemba trade videos, and that is the Charlotte Hornets traded for Kristaps Porzingis in exchange for Terry Rozier and a sign-in trade with Malik Monk. So for the Hornets, they go out and get someone that they can finally put at the 5 that's really an above-average center. For the past, 5-6 years, they've been using Cody Zeller, Bismack Biyombo, just been a hodgepodge of centers there, and they finally get that one long-term under contract for the next 3 seasons in KP. They can roll out next season a LaMelo Ball at the 1, a shooting guard that they maybe draft in the lottery. Either it's a Moses Moody, a James Bouknight, a Cam Thomas at the 2. They can play Gordon Hayward at the 3, PJ Washington at the 4, KP at the 5, and have Miles Bridges as their 6th man. Yeah, that could definitely be a playoff team in the Eastern Conference next year. And for the Dallas Mavericks, they get Rozier, who will be on an expiring contract, but he was phenomenal in Charlotte. His past 2 seasons, he's been one of the best catch-and-shoot players in the NBA, and that is just what you want around Luka Doncic. And he would also be a free agent in 2022, but you would also have 2 max slots available by then. You can allocate some of that money to Rozier, lock him up, maybe 25, 23 mil long-term, and then also have another max contract out there to go after one of the big fish in 2022. And then they would also get Malik Monk in a sign-and trade here, who actually proved to be a good shooter for Charlotte this year, definitely having the best season of his career. It was just a little too late for him to maybe stay in Charlotte because he didn't really pan out the first couple years he was there. Coming at you with our 3rd trade, it is the Sacramento Kings traded for Kristaps Porzingis, and they're giving up Buddy Hield, Marvin Bagley, and their 2022 lottery-protected first-round pick. So will this trade finally get Sacramento in the playoffs? I mentioned with Chicago in this video and in the previous one how desperate are some of these teams to make it into the playoffs, and the Kings, with the longest drought with making it to the playoffs, they are pretty damn desperate. So they get Kristaps Porzingis in this trade. They can have kind of a 1 through 5 next year if they bring back Rashawn Holmes, Fox, Halliburton, Barnes, Porzingis, Holmes. That is not bad at all. That could definitely be good enough to get in the play-in tournament in the Western Conference. And then they'll add their first round pick in this draft, and we'll see what they would do with the roster spots in the offseason. But for Dallas, they get a great shooter in Buddy Hield now. They might not want to do this trade due to Buddy Hield's contract, and that's perfectly reasonable. I think that could definitely be a turnoff for Dallas. But Buddy Hield's a great shooter, and you want to surround shooters around Luka Doncic. Excuse me, I kind of worded that weirdly. After losing Seth Curry in the 2020 offseason, or not really losing him, but trading him away, they really showed how much they missed him this year. They get Marvin Bagley. Sacramento might be willing to give up Marvin Bagley because they really don't know if they should pay him long term or just let him walk. They would probably want to wait till the season anyway, but KP is definitely a massive upgrade over Marvin Bagley. But if the Mavericks think they can kind of rejuvenate his career and just kind of develop him in what he was supposed to be in Sacramento when he was taken second overall, one pick ahead of Luka Doncic. I mean, if they're hiring Bagley, I'd possibly think about that. And then they get a first round pick in 2022 if the Kings make the playoffs. It'll be in like the teens most likely. If they do not, then it'll go maybe to 2023 and they can get a better pick then. I've definitely mentioned this trade in the last video, but I wanted to bring it up today. It is going to be the Boston Celtics going out and getting KP in exchange for Kemba Walker, Nesmith, and a 2021 first round pick. A fairly good value first round pick in the late teens. They get a good 3-point shooter, Aaron Nesmith, who shot 37% as a rookie. You definitely get a higher volume role in Dallas. Kemba Walker, another primary ball handler that they can play with Luka Doncic, rely on him in the clutch, and then they get obviously, or they're getting rid of KP and shipping him to Boston, who gets that rim protector and that 3-point shooter around Tatum and Brown. And yeah, I've already talked about this trade in a previous video on the 10 trade realistic Kemba Walker trade, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. But here it is for you Mavs and Celtics fans. Next up here, it's a pretty simple one. It's a straight swap between two teams that might be stuck where they're at right now. It is the Dallas Mavericks trading Kristaps Porzingis to the Portland Trailblazers for CJ McCollum. Now, the Blazers have definitely been stuck in purgatory longer than the Mavericks. I wouldn't even say the Mavericks are in purgatory at the moment. They are just getting that other shot creator next to Luka Doncic, and that will be CJ McCollum, who they can maybe rely on in the clutch a little bit more. And Portland, they kind of have to change things up. They've been eliminated in round 1 or round 2 for the last 5 or so years. Yes, they did make it to the Western Conference Finals in 2019, but they got swept by the Warriors, who didn't even have Kevin Durant in that series. So I think they need to change things up as well. Go out, get KP. It'll help them improve their defense. They can roll Rocco, KP, and Nurkic out there in the 3-4-5. You obviously have Lillard at the 1, and you figure out your 2. It's most likely going to be Norman Powell. Honestly, that's not too bad. I think I would roll with that if I were Portland. And for Dallas, you get CJ McCollum. You put him out there with maybe Brunson and Luka, and you figure out your big situation next year, because I don't think they're going to be bringing back Josh Richardson, but I like the idea of getting CJ McCollum for the Dallas Mavericks. Trade number 6 here, we have a team that is so desperate at making the playoffs for 2022, and that is the Minnesota Timberwolves. So they'd be acquiring Kristaps Porzingis in exchange for D'Angelo Russell, Juancho Hernangomez, and Josh Okogie. So for Minnesota, they finally get that power forward next to Karl Anthony Towns, and they could put KP there right at the 4, and they'd have Towns at the 5. They would have Anthony Edwards at the 3, Malik Beasley at the 2, and then probably Ricky Rubio at the 1. For Dallas, they pick up D'Lo, somebody that can also be a shot creator like the CJ McCollum trade, kind of, for example. Juancho Hernangomez is a stretch big that's on a very favorable contract. And Josh Okogie, somebody, if they don't really like, they can waive, but somebody that definitely still has defensive potential and offensive slashing upside that next season playing with Luka Doncic. Now, I don't know if this is the exact trade that would come up with Minnesota. Maybe Dallas would prefer getting Malik Beasley, or maybe their first round pick this year or next year, or instead of D'Angelo Russell, maybe just pick up Ricky Rubio to make the money work. That could definitely be the case, and actually, I could see Dallas wanting Malik Beasley a little bit more, and I could be open to that, definitely. That could be an idea, and Dallas would, get Malik Beasley. They'd save a little bit of money with that. They don't have to commit to D'Lo long term, and then I guess for Minnesota, they'd have D'Lo, they'd have Edwards, maybe play Jaden McDaniels at the 3, KP at the 4, and then Cat at the 5. I actually like that a lot, so that's kind of another idea that could potentially happen with the Minnesota Timberwolves. We got 4 trades left here. Trade number 7, it is a New Orleans Pelicans trade. This one is also kind of hard to come up with. It is the Pelicans picking up KP, and then the Mavericks picking up Eric Bledsoe, a veteran, solid defender to make the money work. Really only has 1 year left on his deal, because the year after that, it is not fully guaranteed, so they can just kind of decline that option. They get Jackson Hayes, a young center, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, a young wing, 2 first-round picks, the Pelicans lottery pick this year, and they also get the Lakers first-round pick next year. So for the Pelicans, they get some floor spacing around Zion Williamson. They can kind of space the floor a little bit more. They'd have Zion at the 4, KP at the 5. I think that could work out a lot. You still have Ingram at the 3. I would definitely re-sign Lonzo Ball. I don't know if they will do that, but hey, if they re-sign him, then you maybe do a Kyra Lewis, Lonzo Ball backcourt. I could be a fan of that, definitely, and I think that could maybe help them catapult them into a definite play-in tournament team. I mean, I thought they'd be a play-in tournament team this year, but clearly not. And then for the Dallas Mavericks, I think this is maybe taking a little bit of a step back. They might prefer to get Kyra Lewis instead of Jackson Hayes, or maybe they prefer Adams instead of Bledsoe. I thought they'd prefer Bledsoe just because his contract is a year shorter, and it's definitely a little bit less. So Bledsoe, an expiring contract after this year, basically, they can let him go, and then boom, clear up about $40 or so million, or maybe even $50 million for the 2022 free agency class, where there's absolute studs, possibly like Kawhi Leonard if he decides to opt in this year. You can have KD, Kyrie, Curry, Bradley Beal, Zach LaVine. There's so many free agents in the summer of 2022. And this would set them up for that. I mean, they don't have to worry about Luka Doncic going anywhere because he's going to get that rookie max extension this offseason. I think they can actually work out with Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I think it'd be good for them. They get a lottery pick this year because they already don't even have their first-round pick. That's going to the Knicks. They get 2 first-round picks in 2022 then by acquiring this Lakers trade. So this kind of sets them up not for 2021, 2022, next year's season, but for the years coming after that. This trade here, we're staying in Texas. It is the San Antonio Spurs trading for Kristaps Porzingis for DeMar DeRozan, Derek White, and a 2023 lottery-protected first-round pick. Now, this would only be done if DeMar DeRozan agrees to a sign and trade, but I think he'd want to go to Dallas to play with Luka Doncic. Definitely could still be a contending team in the Western Conference. They get Derek White, a nice secondary ball handler and a good defender, not a bad shooter, to either come off the bench or just kind of be in the rotation, and they get a 2023 lottery-protected first-round pick. Hey, I think that's just kind of nice value in for KP in return, because you get somebody that can help you win now, somebody that can help you win a little bit down the line, and then you get a first round pick in the future, and then this could possibly clear up some cap space as well in the long term. And for the San Antonio Spurs, they were a team that really wanted to trade for Kristaps Porzingis back in 2019. There was a lot of Spurs KP rumors when KP was on the New York Knicks, and then there was some tampering rumors as well, with Pop trying to go behind the scenes to talk to KP while he was under contract with the New York Knicks. So boom, there you go. You can get KP on the Spurs, pair him up with Keldon Johnson and DeJounte Murray, and build for the future. Trade number 9. This is the Golden State Warriors going out and trading for Kristaps Porzingis. I know, right? This would be kind of crazy. And they would be giving up Andrew Wiggins, their first round pick this year, and their first round pick in 2023. I thought maybe they would give up James Wiseman, but there's really no way they would make the money work there, just because they wouldn't move Draymond Green. Unless they did a sign and trade with Kelly Oubre, they could possibly get the money to work, but they really do have to give up Andrew Wiggins. The Dallas Mavericks get a shot creator, Wiggins. I mean, not a terrible option. Yeah, he does have 2 years left on his contract, which isn't terrible, but it would really kind of limit them in free agency spending in the offseason of 2022. They do get the Warriors lottery pick this year, and they would get the Warriors first round pick in 2023. And then for the Warriors, yeah, this I think is a no-brainer. Picking up Kristaps Porzingis, you'd have Curry, you'd have Clay, you possibly have the Minnesota Timberwolves first round pick this year. You maybe re-sign Oubre. Then you have Draymond, Kristaps, and Wiseman potentially in your front court. That is a nice 3-man rotation there to possibly go out and try to get Curry and Clay another ring, and Draymond before they all retire. And then finally, we have our final trade here. It is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Yeah, Cleveland Cavaliers traded for KP. So there was kind of a rumor about a few weeks ago that the Cavs might be pushing Colin Sexton out. They don't want to give him that max extension this offseason, so they might look at a trade for him. And here we go. It's the Dallas Mavericks acquiring Kevin Love and Colin Sexton in exchange for KP. So for the Cavs, I actually love this pickup for Kristaps Porzingis. They get him at the 4, Jared Allen at the 5. Boom, there's your front court for the next 5 years. You still have Darius Garland at the 1, Okoro at the 3, and who knows, they might win the lottery. They could add a Cade Cunningham to that 4-man kind of young core. They could add possibly an Evan Mobley, a Jalen Green, a Jalen Suggs, a Jonathan Kuminga. Either way, that's a nice 5-man core to build for the future, and then adding on Dylan Windler and a couple other young guys that they have. And then for the Mavericks here, they get Sexton, who they really don't have to pay right away, and they might, you never know, but they get him with Luka Doncic. a nice two-man duo for the future, as Sexton is a little bit younger than KP. The only bad thing about this trade is if they would want Kevin Love or not, because if Kevin Love was an expiring contract next year, then I would have him a lot more valuable. But the fact that he has 2 more years after this year, I don't know if Dallas is willing to do that. I mean, maybe they'd restructure his contract, you never know, but it would be very, very hard to do so. So I don't really think that would be happening. So yeah, that is the 10th and final trade. I actually kind of like that idea. I don't know if Dallas would want Kevin Love though, but a Sexton for Porzingis swap is an interesting idea. So yeah, there you go. There's 10 realistic KP trades that could happen in the 2021 offseason. Let me know what your favorite one was down below, and was there any trade idea that I kind of missed out on? You can also let me know down below. I do like these trades a lot. Some of them I do like a little bit more than the others. Like I really like Charlotte's idea. I like Cleveland's idea. Sacramento, San Antonio, and Minnesota I also like a lot, but I wasn't really a huge fan of maybe the Chicago package or the Pelicans package. So I'm pretty honest with these trades. I think those are teams that could realistically call for Kristaps Porzingis and try to get in ongoing trade conversations or discussions, but I don't know. It's kind of hard to come up with some of the packages for some of these teams. So let me know what you maybe agree with or disagree with down below. Drop a like if you guys do enjoy these videos. I probably won't have another one of these out soon unless there's a big trade rumor out there that somebody will definitely get traded in the offseason, but we probably won't pick up these videos again until after the playoffs are over, at least until we know the draft lottery is set, and then the rumors are going to be flying left and right on who could possibly get traded in this offseason. So yeah, that is it for me. Thank you all for watching. I love you guys. Catch you on the next one. Peace.